Return of the Jedi. Cody Curtis is going to return to talk Return of the Jedi with me, and I'm super excited. So excited that even though, I'm just getting my voice back, can you hear it? Oh, yeah! Even with my voice like this, it's like, whatever. It's Star Wars. We're going to talk about it. Welcome to Durbania. I'm Durbin, and if you've been watching this awesome Star Wars thing that I've been doing with Cody Curtis, you know the deal. On my channel, episode 4, Cody Curtis and I do an awesome retro review of it. On his channel, Empire Strikes Back, Cody and I do an awesome retro review on it. And now here on my channel, once again, we are going to retro review episode 6, Return of the Jedi. Ooh, I'm so excited. So Cody, tell us a little bit about yourself and where we can find Empire Strikes Back.
Well, first of all, Durbin, I gotta say thank you for bringing me back onto your channel. Guys, you can find me here on YouTube at Cody Curtis. It's just my name. I do stuff that Durbin does. I do movie reviews. I have a weekly Star Wars show. I do collaborations with a bunch of fun people on YouTube. It's just an utter blast. And Durbin, I'm so excited to start talking about Return of the Jedi.
Oh, I can't wait. And we're like a month away from The Last Jedi. And I am beyond excited for that. So we're going to talk Return of the Jedi next month, right before Last Jedi on Cody's channel. We will be talking The Force Awakens, and I'm super excited to dig into that one as well. So, Cody, kick us off. What's your overall thoughts and views of Return of the Jedi?
Well, Return of the Jedi, I have to admit, it is, as far as the original trilogy is concerned, it is my least favorite of the original trilogy.
Aww.
I mean, it's not that Return of the Jedi isn't great. It is. It has so much to say, especially since we finally get that great final confrontation between Luke, the Emperor, and Vader. There is one thing that kept bringing me down when it comes to this movie. I cannot get past the Ewoks.
My mistake.
Yeah, I know. I know. People love the Ewoks. They're adorable. I get that. But for me, I just can't buy any of the stuff that happens when we get to the Forest Moon of Endor. I don't believe that stormtroopers, these army personnel with really advanced weaponry and really advanced armor, are going to be taken out with sticks and little baby stones. I found it ridiculous. I found it cartoonish. I didn't really buy it. But before you guys attack me for hating on The Last Jedi, other than the Ewoks, I love this movie. There's so much in it to adore. It is a great cap-off to a great trilogy.
You know, on that Ewoks note, what if you looked at it this way? Those stormtroopers are prepared for anything and everything. They are trained for every probability. So, in their minds, teddy bears throwing sticks and stones, that's not even a deal. So, when teddy bears show up throwing sticks and stones, do they even know what to do about it?
I think you just destroyed my brain. Holy
I think
cow,
I just
Durbin.
did the ultimate stretch you could possibly do on anything. Oh, man. Oh, but this one has so many good things. I mean, I remember when I was a kid and I was watching it, I don't know why this fascinated me, but this fascinated me. The idea of Han Solo being unfrozen from carbonite and then being blind and slowly gaining his sight back. Something about that just absolutely fascinated me when I was a kid watching this. And, they're going through all that stuff with Jabba the Hutt and, it's just, he can't see. And so, I don't know why. I can't even explain it to you and I can't elaborate on it. But even now as an adult, when I watch it, that's just one of those things that I find so interesting, is him coming out of that hibernation sleep, him being blind and having to deal with that for a short time while he gets his sight back. That's one of those things I thought was kind of interesting about this one.
Oh, absolutely. I completely agree, Durbin. I find it very interesting that he lost his sight, because through A New Hope and through The Empire Strikes Back, we know that Han Solo was a pilot. We know he's an excellent shot with a blaster. And what does that require? It requires the eyes. It requires the windows to the soul. But what would happen to Han if that aspect of him was taken away? Of course, he's still going to be that smart-talking smuggler that we all love. But when that aspect of him is taken away, it just creates a more interesting dynamic.
Oh, yeah, I agree. And plus, a really great line when Lando, is about to fall down into the Sarlacc pit and the tentacles wrapped around his leg, and Han's about to shoot it off. He's like, I thought you couldn't see! I can see a little bit better now, and he shoots at it, like, things like that. Or I love Han Solo, and I just love moments like that. And I'm just glad, I know Harrison Ford wanted Han Solo to have, an epic death in the original trilogy, but I'm glad that did not happen, because I love what we got with Han Solo throughout this original trilogy, and he's still one of my favorite ones in this one, so I don't know, I love Han Solo.
Yeah, Durbin, I don't think anybody can argue with you there. Han Solo is one of the greatest characters that was ever made in cinema, just like the original Star Wars trilogy are some of the best films ever made. And honestly, this third film, generally, when it comes to trilogies today, unless there's something miraculous, they start to slow down, they start to lose something. And it's not the case. It's not the case with Return of the Jedi. Return of the Jedi does exactly what the end of a trilogy should do. It expounds on the characters, it provides a satisfying conclusion, we get all of the revelation that we wanted, and we learn more about the Force, we learn more about Yoda, even some of the minor characters we get introduced to. When it comes to terms of the rebellion, taking out a second Death Star, we learn more revelation from that. Every little piece in Return of the Jedi, save for me, because, I don't like the Ewoks, is so masterfully crafted. And let me add, the space battles in Star Wars The Last Jedi... The space battles in Star Wars The Return of the Jedi are the best space battles I think I've ever seen to date. And this was made back in the 1980s.
Oh, yeah. And what's really cool about the space battles in this one is not just how cool they looked, especially for the 1980s. I mean, they looked awesome. But it was the whole intensity that they put behind it. I mean, you have Luke on the Death Star, and you find out that this thing is operational. So the whole thing is a trap. I mean, you got that famous line, it's a trap! So, but that added to so much of the intensity of that space battle and made it so much more epic. Because now it's like, okay, Luke, you gotta do something. I mean, you can't give in to the dark side, but you got to do something, because they're trapped. And the whole time you're watching these guys and you're like, well, I mean, you can't root for them to leave and retreat, because you need them to stay here, because Luke could just do something any second here. But then you have the stuff going down on Endor. You have the shield around the Death Star, and it's Han Solo who's supposed to bring that down, and all the tension that's going on down below. And so, the way that each of these battles just fed into each other and made each other even more intense, that is just so well done.
Absolutely, 100%. And of course, it's Return of the Jedi. We finally get the stance from good versus evil. We finally meet the Emperor himself.
With each passing moment, you make yourself more my servant.
And this guy, I don't know what I was expecting when I was younger, when I first saw the Emperor. But this guy, he's a wordsmith, he's cunning, he's conniving, he's doing everything within his power to make sure that Luke will turn against his father, if not kill his father, kill Darth Vader.
Yeah, and we learn from The Empire Strikes Back that the light side is stronger than the dark side. So, for the Emperor to be a wordsmith and deceptive and all that stuff that he has, he's got to be that, and he's got to be really good at it. Because he's got to continue to make the dark side an easier path. So he's got to make this as enticing as possible. And some of the easiest things to give into is anger and those emotions. And so, I mean, you touched on this a little bit earlier, but those final scenes between Luke, the Emperor, and Vader are amazing. And they're amazing on several levels. I mean, number one, the lightsaber fighting in those scenes are just incredible. But what makes them even more incredible is the emotion that comes out behind those scenes. And what makes that emotion so real is the temptation that's going on. The Emperor pushing every single button he can push in Luke to get Luke to give into the dark side, you know? To give into that anger, to give into that passion and be like, doesn't that just feel so good? Give into it, Luke. I mean, it's just... all of that was just incredible. And I think what's the best is the way Mark Hamill, you can see his character Luke is truly dealing with that temptation. When he looks out the window and his friends are in trouble, I mean, the anxiety, the fear, the anger that be rising up in him, these are not the way to the light side. This is the way to the dark side. And so you're seeing this rise up inside of him, and he's got to figure out how to control this really fast. And then you have this little snake in his ear just whispering all this stuff to set him off. It is so smart.
Yeah, it definitely is. There's so much symbolism in The Last Jedi. And one of my favorites is when Vader is taunting Luke, when they're having their lightsaber battle and Luke manages to slip away into the shadows. There's one shot where you know that Vader is taunting Luke. He's talking about how He's talking about how he knows and he just discovered that Luke has a sister and he's going to turn her to the dark side. You get one shot of Luke's face and one side of it is in the light, another side of it is in the dark. And it represents the struggle, the battle that Luke is having within himself. And I am hoping against hope that we're going to be able to see even more of that struggle when it comes to The Last Jedi. Because in Return of the Jedi, the struggle that Luke has to deal with, it's dark, it's beautiful, it's just overall extremely well done. And it can bring you to tears.
And there are so many clues in The Force Awakens, and we'll talk about this more when we get into Force Awakens, but there's so many clues in The Force Awakens that battle for Luke has not ended. Because, like, if you were to look at the philosophy of the Jedi, it looks like overall they're about forget your emotions, bury those things deep. And you and I know as human beings, you can't bury your emotions, because if you bury them, they're still there. And they're just going to come right back up. And then you had the Sith, who do nothing but give in to the emotions, and that's totally wrong too. And so I feel like with Anakin, the prophecy of bringing balance to the Force had to do with figuring out how to deal with emotions in that healthy way and use them in a healthy way in the Force, and that's the balance to the Force. And, you know, Luke has got to figure that part out on his own, because Yoda's part of that old Jedi Order, and he's able to give a lot of training. And Darth Vader is definitely a Sith, and Luke is now left alone to figure out how to fulfill that prophecy of bringing balance to the Force. And it was interesting, as you said, to see the lighting on his face in that one scene, to see that struggle that he has, and you know that struggle moves on. But I think my favorite scene in this movie is in all that rage where he just beats the tar out of Vader and cuts off his hand, and he's like, he could have done the final blow, but he looks down at his own hand, and he gains, in that moment, that composure where he's not going to let his emotions rule him, but he's not really denying them either, and he just turns off his lightsaber, tosses it off, and he's like, I'll never join the dark side. You have failed, Your Highness. I mean, just one of my favorite scenes in the movie. I love the power in that moment, because you could just tell the strength it took him to turn off that lightsaber.
It is one of the best scenes in the entire movie. One of the best scenes inside of the entire Star Wars trilogy. Honestly, and in my opinion, that is a powerful scene. The scene that I cling to more, though, is the scene afterwards, when the Emperor is shocking Luke. And for my ever-loving shame, I will hate forever what George Lucas has done to the Blu-rays on this original trilogy. In the original Star Wars The Return of the Jedi, you just see in Vader's face as Luke is being shocked, as he is crying out to his father for help. Even though there's no emotion on Vader's mask, you can just, from the music to the tone that was in the scene, you can see the emotion that's there. And he picks up the Emperor, no words, and throws him down a mine shaft. And what happens on the Blu-ray, Durbin?
No!
Exactly. Vader says no, just like he said no in a really, really dumb and pathetic way in The Revenge of the Sith.
I don't know why he put that in there. Did he not get the memo that nobody liked the no from Revenge of the Sith?
I don't know, Durbin. I don't know. All I know is it's stupid, but although I will admit I hate that no was put in there, the messages, the power behind those scenes, they're still there.
I mean, it's amazing and beautiful that it's not a face, it's a helmet. And we can still read the emotion going on there. It's still there. And then as if he's like, well, in case you really don't see it, I'm going to throw in this no. And it's like, oh, come on. Just, you made these movies many, many years ago, okay? Just sit down and take a breath. Let them be what they are because they're classics. So just stop it.
Stop it!
Stop it!
S-T-O-P, new word, I-T.
I'm really saddened by the fact that I don't know if we're ever going to get the re-released original trilogy without anything that George Lucas did. I'm hoping that we do, but I don't know if that's a possibility.
When I watch some of those things, like, there's a few cosmetic things that I don't mind that they touched up here and there, but when it gets into changing plot things, like Han not shooting first anymore, or Vader now screams no, it's like, oh, don't do that. I don't care if you want to throw in a CGI thing in the background or enhance a little thing here or there, but when you go and what you're doing is affecting the story and you're shifting things around in the story, why? Just, the story is the classic, leave that alone.
I mean, what George Lucas set up, alterations aside, what he set up. Guys, you've been hearing this from us in every single one of these videos. The community, the emotion, the spirituality, everything that Star Wars has brought, everything that George Lucas started is something palpable. It's something so near and dear to our hearts. When we see alterations or when something is messed with something that is so pure, it's heartbreaking. It's heart-wrenching.
I agree. And it was hard. Like, I bought the Blu-rays because I love high-definition stuff, so I, of course, want Star Wars on Blu-ray. And I watch it, and he screams no at the end, and I was a little sad inside. It's like, come on. It was so perfect how it was.
Yeah, and lest we forget, I'm gonna get a little passionate, maybe a tad bit angry here, but this is something besides the no, I am never gonna forget this as long as I live. Originally, in Return of the Jedi, after everything's said is done, and the galaxy is celebrating because the Emperor is gone, the Empire is crumbling to the ground, we see Luke, he's off celebrating, and he sees Force ghosts. He sees Obi-Wan, he sees Yoda, and then he sees somebody. He sees an elderly gentleman, and we realize from Return of the Jedi, wait a second, that's Anakin Skywalker, that's Darth Vader. And what did George Lucas, what did he do in the new alterations? They had to take out the old man, and they had to replace it with Hayden Christensen. And I don't think I can ever forgive him for that. Because as far as the story goes, this particular portion, it makes no sense to me. And whenever I get to that scene in Return of the Jedi, I feel as though I just need to skip it, even though I hate doing it. Because as a Star Wars fan, it rips me up on the inside.
Yeah.
I can't really put into words what Star Wars means to me. This community, this sense of family, everything that this has brought down for everybody. I understand George Lucas has made some mistakes, and I've stated them here, but what he has done, I can never fully show my gratitude to him for showing this, because if it wasn't for this community, if it wasn't for Star Wars built up to the way it was, I wouldn't know Durbin, I wouldn't know Zach Pope, I wouldn't know Sean. I mean, this whole community that we've got on YouTube, I don't feel as though I would know these guys if it wasn't for the Star Wars community. And I don't have the words to say the gratitude that I have for this. Star Wars, it's beautiful. It means so much to so many people. It means so much to me. It's a part of who I am.
That is so true. And it's easy to rant and get on the negative stuff and forget the overwhelming positive. George Lucas created this universe, and it has lasted all these years, spawned the prequels, spawning all the TV shows, spawning all these things that kind of just bring us together in this most ultimate fandom. So, you know what? In spite of a few of those missteps, George Lucas, you rock. Thank you for Star Wars. Well, that's Cody and I's thoughts on Star Wars Return of the Jedi. Rant aside, we love that movie. We love the classic trilogy. What are your thoughts of Return of the Jedi? Let us know in the comments, and while you're there, hit that subscribe button to become a Durbanian. Next to the subscribe button is the bell. Click it so you're notified when I drop new videos, and flip over there to Cody Curtis's channel. Check out our review of Empire Strikes Back, and check out the other awesome things Cody Curtis does, and subscribe to his channel. Cody, tell us a little bit about your channel again.
Guys, you can find me here on YouTube at Cody Curtis. It's just my name. I do stuff that Durbin does. I do movie reviews. I have a weekly Star Wars show. I do collaborations with a bunch of fun people on YouTube. It's just an utter blast.
Awesome. So go check that out. Subscribe to his channel. Ring the bell on his channel so you're notified when all his new stuff comes down the line. I'm Durbin. This is Cody. Thanks for checking out Durbania.